Hello, everyone. How are you? This is Tom McCaffrey. Thanks for watching. Before I get started, please like this video if you like it. And if you don't like it, then still like it. And please subscribe. And thanks to everyone who's been, watching the videos and subscribing. It really means a lot to me. And also check out my podcast. This audio usually goes on it. It's called LE2B. We have a lot of cool guests we just had on. Some guests we've had in the past are, Michael Che, Jeannie Garofalo, Jim Gaffigan, Stephen Tobolowsky, the actor, a lot of cool people, Lisa Lampanelli. So check that out. Okay. So I'm just doing a video real quick because, there's some stuff came out about the Amber Heard trial. I don't know, kind of new stuff. Just like there was stuff that apparently her lawyers, Amber Heard's lawyers, tried to get admitted into evidence that the judge did not allow into evidence. And some of it's kind of, I don't know, iffy. I think, well, one of them is that Johnny Depp had erectile dysfunction, which, obviously Johnny Depp's lawyers didn't want that. And I'm sure Johnny Depp didn't want that admitted into evidence because they said it wasn't relevant. It was just like salacious, which I think they, obviously his lawyers are really good. I think they probably made a good argument that it wasn't necessary, but it could have been useful. And I think it was allowed in the UK trial, which he lost. And I guess they were arguing, Amber Heard's lawyers were arguing that it was useful because, I mean, I'm sure the lawyers made some argument, but it basically was just to like humiliate. It's so funny going back to that trial because that whole thing was just to like humiliate each other. I mean, when you think about it, it was just two babies. It's just kind of like, having a fight in front of everyone, paying a lot of people to kind of like put on this play of like a fight and kind of like humoring them. But that's just funny. Like, yeah, Your Honor, we need to admit some evidence. Oh, what's the evidence? Apparently Johnny Depp can't get it up. So yeah, that's really important to the case. Yeah, his dick, it just wouldn't get hard a lot because he's not a real man. Just we want to admit some evidence that he's not a real man. Is that, how is that relevant? Just, because, it'll prove that, he was lying because he's not a real man and his dick doesn't get hard. No, I'm not going to allow that. But I guess they argued it was because to kind of there, one of the allegations that they made was that he used a bottle to I don't even know how to say it. He basically used a bottle on her vaginally, and penetrated her. That was what I was looking for. But I don't know that, that necessarily those two correlate, like not getting up and raping someone with a bottle. I just don't feel like that, like one automatically motivates the other. Like, man, I can't get it up. Where's a bottle? I'm going to stick this in your vagina. Why? Because I'm mad. I can't get it up. It's just, if you can't get it up, you're probably just like, yeah, I'm just going to go to sleep. Not that that's ever happened to me. That really has not happened to me, but which is funny because, this is on a side note, but I remember growing up, you'd always see TV, like sitcoms, in movies they always had like a running joke that, it's not that common. It doesn't happen to everyone, but, there was always a thing. I think in The Departed, there's a scene where she's like, it's kind of common. A lot of guys get hung up on it and they're really self-conscious, but it's a really common thing because she's a therapist. So I just was expecting that to happen, but never really happened. So it's enough about me. But I mean, it's not surprising that Johnny Depp wouldn't be able to get it up. I mean, he's in his late 50s, and I don't know, from what he was saying, and he basically admitted in the trial was that he was just been drinking, a fifth of Jack Daniels ever since he was 4 years old, and doing heroin and coke and weed and pills and uppers and speed and downers. It's like, yeah, I mean, how could this guy get it up? He must be fucking tired. But I guess they didn't let that in, and I don't know how much that would have changed the outcome of the trial. But another thing apparently they didn't let in was something about Amber Heard she used to be an exotic dancer. I don't know what relevance that really would have had just again, just to like humiliate her and embarrass her. Like, um, also, we need. Can we admit this evidence? Yeah, apparently she used to dance in her dance naked in a bar. Yeah, just so. How is that relevant? Just I just want the world to know that she's a fucking whore. Yeah, she just dances around naked. And they were like, yeah, I think we got enough. We can't let that in because it would be, it'd be detrimental and it would harm her character. But somehow the shitting on the bed thing got in. The shitting in the bed thing will allow. That's fine. We're not going to fight that. But we don't want people to know that she danced naked at one point in her life. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I kind of assumed she probably did. Like, that's not a huge shock to me that Amber Heard danced naked, as a job for a while or at one point. And then I guess they wanted to really, they also wanted to admit naked pictures of her, which is another just like, how would that at all be relevant to the trial? Like, I couldn't imagine that in the trial. Okay, so Your Honor, we'd like to admit into evidence these 5 pictures of Amber Heard naked, standing in her apartment. Can we pass those around to the jury and make sure everyone sees them? Yes. This is her naked. Oh, okay, great. Well, what does this prove? That she's a liar. Clearly, she's a liar. Look, she's naked and on the couch, dancing around. And also, she danced around naked, so she's a liar. If you dance around naked, you can't tell the truth. So that was one thing, and I want to play something else. This is just like a lawyer and someone talking about, because one of the big allegations, but was based, the whole thing was that she accused him of spousal abuse or beating her, and then he denied it, so he never did. But I always said, look, I don't know what happened, but all his stories are basically, he had a lot of stories of like, yeah, I would drink like 3 bottles of tequila and Jack Daniels, and then I would take like 10 Vicodin, and then I would do coke and heroin, and then I would black out for 2 days, and like, so, but you never hit her? No, I never hit her. But it's like, but you said you were blackout drunk and on drugs for most of the time. So I don't know, like, is it that crazy to believe that someone who actually is known for doing violent things in his past, like destroying hotel rooms, and there's even video of him like destroying things in his room. Like, he clearly had like a violent streak. I don't destroy things in my house, and even if I had like like if I had like 9 houses and they were really nice, I still don't think I would destroy things. I'd probably want the house to be nice still. But anyway, he would, he admitted to being like kind of violent, having a temper. So I don't know, it didn't seem like out of the realm of possibility to me that like if he was blackout drunk and he had this like violent streak, that maybe he one time hit her. It's like, so Johnny, tell us about your life. Well, I get drunk every day and I destroy the hotel rooms and everything around me. I throw things around it, and and then I won't remember weeks at a time. So did you ever hit her? No, I'm positive I never hit her. What about when you were blacked out? I woke up bleeding next to her, but I'm sure I didn't hit her. But so anyway, I guess there was someone wrote a text here. I'm going to play something about it, like that he kicked her or something.
Me, are you okay? Objection, hearsay.
Well, there were texts from Johnny Depp's assistant, Stephen Duders, to Amber Heard right when this happened. And again, I'm going to read you one of the texts. Quote, if someone was truly honest with him about how bad it really was, he would be appalled. Again, this is what Duders texted Heard. Quote, I'm sad he does not have a better way to really know the severity of his actions yesterday. Unfortunately for me, I remember them in full detail, everything that happened. He was appalled. When I told him he kicked you, he cried. Now, what we know, Tisha, that was introduced during the course of this trial is there was a text message from Depp to Amber Heard where he seemingly apologized. He talks about being in a place of shame and regret. He doesn't outright say, I'm sorry I kicked you. But why was these text messages not introduced? I mean, this felt very pivotal for Amber Heard's case.
And I think that's what's so interesting about these pretrial documents coming into light now is now we're kind of the public is a second set of jurors, and us making up our own decisions and seeing, there was so much evidence in this case. And now we're seeing even more of the evidence in the pretrial.
That seems pretty relevant. And that seems like a big omission. Basically what they just said was that there was a text from, I guess, his assistant to Amber Heard, basically saying like, apologizing on Johnny Depp's behalf, like, I'm sorry that he kicked you last night. So I don't think it's funny, but it's like, Why didn't they let that in? That's kind of a big, I think that's kind of damning evidence. They must have argued against in a very effective way. I don't know what the argument they, like a lot of times they'll argue, against evidence being admitted because it doesn't lend any probative value to the case. But I don't know, that seems pretty relevant that there would be a text where, I actually noted as I think it could be considered hearsay. But I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that there's considered hearsay, like evidence that can be brought in. And then I guess he sent a text right after that, Johnny Depp apologizing after he got that text about kicking her. But yeah, Johnny Depp's such a nice guy, because it says in the text, when I told him that he kicked you, he cried. Oh, I'm sure she cheated on him. I'm sure she was a nightmare. But I've always said this. I mean, I like him and everything, but I mean, he seems like a nightmare. They played all these like recordings of him where he's like, he's screaming and yelling, and he's just always cursing, and he sounds drunk all the time. And I think at one point he was like they had audio of him almost like he was trying to cut himself with a knife. So I don't know, he sounds like a little unhinged at times. It's just, if you're able to lose your temper to the point where you're getting violent and breaking objects, it just doesn't seem that crazy to me. That like one time maybe you would like maybe throw something and it would actually, accidentally cause some collateral damage on the person right there. I threw bottles every day against the wall, but never once did any of it hit her. I just threw it. I made sure I threw it next to her face. I'm really good at aiming bottles against the wall. And this is just a quick thing that I was saying, because listening to that, I kind of forgot how when they were in the trial, Johnny Depp's lawyers would object to everything that was asked by the other side. And if there was a question they didn't approve of, they'd be like, objection, hearsay, objection, Mr. Leading, objection, relevance. And I was just saying, I wish I could do that in real life. If someone's like asking you questions that you don't like, you can just raise objections, and they can't keep up with the line of questioning. Like your girlfriend, like you come home, hey, so where were you all last night? Objection, hearsay, leading, objection, relevance. Well, you said you were at Steve's house, and I called him. You said you weren't there. You said you were at this other girl's house. Objection, not relevant to what's going on. Objection, no more of that. I love too in courts, they did this a little bit in this, but I would always see movies about like courtroom dramas where someone would say something that was damning, like on the stand, and a lawyer would object. They say, hey, Your Honor, objection, and then the judge would be like, yes, I sustained, have that stricken from the record, and then they'd instruct the jury to disregard that last comment, jury. It's like, but it'd be things like, yes, and then I saw him murder her, and they're like, objection, sustained, strike that from your memory, strike that from the record, disregard that, jury, that the guy said he saw the person murder the woman. Oh, okay, yeah, like I'm sure they're really going to forget that. Also, I heard that I guess Amber Heard declared bankruptcy, which I think is bullshit. I think it's really annoying too, because I don't know how much money she has, but it's really annoying. These people, you hear about them like getting all this money for movies and stuff, and then they declare bankruptcy. I mean, I guess it makes sense, because she didn't really have a very high profile career for very long. I feel like her big payday was Aquaman, and I think Aquaman 2, even though I guess they're cutting her out of that, but I think she got like a few million for that. But I just think it's so funny, these people, they get these huge salaries, they lose all their money so fast. I guess $3 million, you can kind of go through that pretty quick, especially if you're crazy and you think it's never going to end. But that's why she really fucked herself over with this thing. She like married this guy who had all this money, and then she claims that he beat her up all the time, and they got divorced, and she only got like 7 million, and then she claims that she just pledged it to someone like the ACLU, which isn't true. I guess pledge, she doesn't, that was the whole controversy. She doesn't know what pledged means. She thinks donating and pledging are the same thing. Like she said, she said she pledged it, but she thought meant giving it to them, but she didn't give it to them. She like kind of said she was going to give it to them and then just didn't give it to them. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, when I pledge, I'm going to like, you know, drive someone to the airport. Will you drive me to the airport? Yeah, I pledged that I'll drive you to the airport. You didn't drive me to the airport. Yeah, no, I pledged that I would, but you didn't do it. I know, but I said I would. Yeah, right, but you never did it. I know, but I promised I would. That's all that you need, is just a promise. But then I guess she said she gave all that money away, but she didn't. I don't know. So I don't know what happened to that money, but I don't know. Like, what you went through like $10 million in like 2 years. I don't know, like what is she buying that she really like, that she would go through that kind of money? I guess, you know, if she bought a house, she could, you know, she would have real estate. I think what she's doing is a bankruptcy is to hide the assets. I think that they do that a lot. Like OJ did that. He, you know, they always do things to hide there, because, you know, in a civil case, when, you know, when there's kind of a when there's a judgment, you owe a lot of money. I feel like there's ways around not paying the money, and I'm sure she's going to figure out a way to do it. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye. Please subscribe before I forget.